Influencer, happy Valentine's. I'm TJ Walker. It is Friday, February 14th, 2020. Thanks for joining me. We have a big show for you today. A lot of top stories that relate to habits, plus your questions, your comments, your thoughts, and your additions as well. In topic A, we'll be looking at the euphoria of winning in a casino. Has that ever hooked you and created a negative habit? I'll be sharing with you some of my own personal experiences in the casino. In topic B, how lifelong learning and creation habits work together and create synergy. Topic C, stop the horrible habit of saying, I want to be a TED Talk speaker. Now, I love TED Talk, so don't think I'm bashing them, but I do want to go into some detail about the generic abstract goal of wanting to be a TED Talk speaker. And topic D, want to lose 20 pounds fast. I'm constantly shocked at how many self-help personal development websites I go to, and they have something like that blaring on the site somewhere. I just saw one today. We'll be talking about that in detail and why that's frankly a red flag. That, your questions, your comments, a lot of top stories in the news. We'll be checking in with the good folks at Thrive Global and picking up tips on how to incorporate small incremental movements throughout your day, especially your work day, to keep your energy up. And also more tips on how to measure various metrics that are important to your life, your habits, and your career. We'll be checking in with the whole FIRE movement. If you're familiar with that, I'm not talking about walking across fire, breathing fire, but FIRE that stands for Financial Independence, Retire Early. Some extreme saving habits have to be involved for that to happen. And a new study coming out from Yale and Oxford on what really makes people happy, happier than money, believe it or not. So those are some of the topics that we'll be going through today. And as always, your comments, whether they are on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, UpLive, Periscope, you name it, we're here. This is a show that is open to any platform. We are on about 20 different live platforms all over the world. To my knowledge, this is the only personal development show in the world that is broadcast daily live on virtually every single major and minor live streaming platform. We're here to build a community of people who care about building better habits and improving habits. So if you're joining us on YouTube, say hello. By the way, I spent a little time reconfiguring the YouTube channel today, so take a look at it. And if you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, please do it. Same with Facebook. The Facebook page and a number of the video playlists were changed today, trying to get things even more streamlined and focused to make it easier for you to figure out what you need when you go to any of these major platforms. So give me any feedback that you have on those. We're continuing to take feedback on graphics and the visuals, the backdrop. There's been some thumbs up on the logo that Marceau created, but there's been some thumbs down too. And this is going to sound horribly vain. I apologize. I've told Marceau I don't like the little logo with the cartoon man in glasses, in part because I've spent a lot of money on glasses that don't look like glasses because they're supposed to be nearly invisible. So I really don't want glasses to be a part of my icon. You might think that's ridiculous, but hey, I'm being transparent with you. I'm sharing it. So I think we're going to try some new logos and images. But weigh in with what you want. If you have ideas or suggestions on that, then feel free to share. Following up on yesterday's conversation, I delved into this book that covers what's called limbic capitalism. It's about corporations that make fortunes off of us by instantly stimulating something in our brain that gives dopamine. Now, traditionally, these were alcohol companies, tobacco companies, and drug companies. Now, in the modern world, it's going to be, and gambling companies, gaming as they like to be called. Now in the modern world, it's Facebook, it's Netflix, it's every social media platform, it's TikTok, which I love, but all of these companies give us zaps of dopamine to get us hooked where we like it. Oh, my latest post on Facebook got 23 likes. Boom. That gives a little jolt of dopamine. I wanted to go back just a little ways in history because there is, in fact, nothing new about this. What's new is there's so many more companies out there involved in this limbic capitalism where they're making money off of stimulating our brains with dopamine and getting us hooked. But tobacco's been around a long time, pornography's been around, gambling, and that's what I want to talk about today. Have you ever been in a casino? You may have no interest in casinos, you may love casinos, but it is a fascinating case study of how habits are acquired, because obviously some people build the habit of gambling, they can't stop, and just like in the movies and TV shows, they lose their house, they lose their family, they go into debt, they've destroyed their lives because they just can't quit. And you may be thinking, well, these people just don't have self-control, shame on them. It's just not that easy. Some of us are luckier than others as far as the things we get addicted. I've been addicted to sugar before, caffeine. I've been fortunate enough not to be addicted to drugs or to gambling, but I have to tell you about the time I came very, very close. It was almost 20 years ago. I was celebrating a friend's 40th birthday. We went to the Foxwood Casinos. That's a huge casino complex in Connecticut, right outside of New York City, a couple of hours. And I was living in Manhattan at the time. Get to the casino on a Friday evening. Now, my friend loved to play blackjack. I was never much of a gambler, but I watched him play a few hands. I said, well, I'll try that. So I put $20 down, boom, gone. That wasn't much fun. Put another $20 down, gone. Put another $20 down, gone. I said, I can't believe anyone finds this fun or even interesting. Why would anyone want to go gambling? And I said, I got enough. And I went to the bar, had a nice glass of bourbon, and started to relax. But there, right in front of me, was a video console. It was a video console, video poker, which had not been out that long, maybe 5 years ago or so. And I really had no interest in video poker. But that very week, there was a prominent political leader in the United States who was famous for talking about how moral he was and how immoral everyone in the other party was. And he'd gotten rich and famous talking about his morality. Well, it turned out he had lost $6 million gambling on video poker, which is either sad or pathetic or both. So I figured, in honor of mocking this guy whose politics I didn't particularly like, what the heck? I'll play video poker. So I put a quarter in, nothing, lost a quarter. Okay, well, at least I'm losing a quarter now and not $20. I put another quarter in, lost another 25 cents. Okay, at least my rate of loss is slowing down. And I've got a whole weekend to kill. What else am I going to do? I put another quarter in. Nothing. So, okay, this is going to be a long weekend. I'll put one more quarter in. I put the quarter in. Ding, 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 ding. Jack, jack, king, king, king. Full house. Winner, you're a winner. All of a sudden, lights are going off. Sirens are going off on this video poker console. Ching, ching. Quarter comes out. Another quarter comes out. Another quarter comes out. Faster, faster, faster. Quarter after quarter after quarter. 1,000 quarters came out. At this point, I'm so excited. I'm feeling a state of euphoria. This is just like the greatest day of my life. It felt so good. I felt like I could jump up and touch the roof 30 feet above. It was such an intense high. It felt so good. I felt rich. Now, it only adds up to $250. But I'll never forget the physical sensation, and that's now been 17 years, 17 and a half years. And that physical sensation, that those hits of dopamine, the state of euphoria. And there was a part of me thinking, wow, I could stay here and play forever. If I could win this every couple hours, this would be great. Now, hey, we're all irrational. I'm irrational in other ways. But at that point, click, something rational did click in my brain. And I thought, wow, this is scary. I can really see how people get hooked. I've never done crack cocaine, but you'll hear people say sometimes, you do it once, boom, you're addicted. It just feels that good. Or heroin, which I've also never done. And to me, it seemed like something. It just felt so good, but it scared me. And at that point, I said, whoa, I'm going to step back from this. And I didn't gamble anymore that night or that weekend. And I'm not sure if I've ever really I'd go into casinos if I'm in Las Vegas or something, but not to gamble. And here's what I reasoned. I said, you know what? I'm ahead of almost everyone who comes into a casino at this point. So the rest of the weekend, my friend and I, we ate it up. It was a big boys' weekend. We had food, drinks, entertainment, a comedy show, the hotel, and my bus ride back to Manhattan. I got home Sunday night, opened my wallet, and I had $3 more in it than when I started. And I said to myself, you know what? This has got to put me in probably the top 1% of gamblers. Because let's not forget, everyone always talks about their wins. How'd you do? Oh, I had a great weekend. Well, we were there for a week. Oh, I was really up this time. Everyone always forgets their losses. And I figured if I stop right now, I could sort of go through the rest of my life as a winner when it comes to relations with casinos and gambling. And I don't really remember having ever gambled since then. I mean, if I put $5 down on a cruise line, at some point it's possible, but I don't have any recollection of that. So I'm happy about that. Now, I don't say that with pride. I'm not proud of the fact that I don't gamble. It's just there's a million different vices. There's a million different addictive vices in the world. That doesn't happen to be one that appeals to me, but it is one that appeals to a lot of people around the world. And big companies, big gambling companies, and I'm going to use the term gambling, not gaming, they prey on that. And they know exactly what they're doing. They know that by giving you that occasional irregular reinforcement, those occasional wins, it creates so much excitement. It sets off the dopamine, and it becomes irresistible. That's what creates a habit. So if you want to navigate this modern world, we've got to do everything we can to protect ourselves, avoid ourselves from getting dopamine hits like that for fear of being addicted, because it can suck you in. You can be someone who is extraordinarily disciplined, motivated, hardworking in every other aspect of your life, but if you get addicted to something like gambling, it can destroy your life. And yes, I realize that some people, there are some games that are not just chance. It is possible to really hone your skills and make money on poker, although most people don't do it. I do happen to have a friend who is a successful professional poker player, and he explains to me, poker's the one thing where you actually can win in the long run. Every other game, in the long run, by definition, and it's even legally set up this way, the house is going to win. The odds are in their favor. But with poker, you're not playing against the casino. They're going to get a cut of the pie every time, so they still win. You're competing against the other players. But I also know that I don't have the patience or really the interest to learn how to be a master poker player. So that leaves that out. My challenge to you is to figure out and really think about, what is it that you're in danger of? What's too enticing for you? I mean, I know, for example, I can't resist chocolate candy, chocolate chip cookies, so I just don't keep them in the house. I don't buy them, and I don't keep them in the house. What temptations do you need to keep away? For me, I can walk through a casino. It's not really tempting, because when I walk through a casino, I'm like a little kid. I like looking at the bright lights and the sounds and the spectacle of it. And when I'm in a place like Las Vegas, I love the sheer spectacle of the Cirque du Soleil shows and the famous comedians and all the famous chefs with big, exciting restaurants. So I love it, and it's not tempting at all. And by the way, I should put as a footnote, as a disclosure, I forgot about it till just now, but I've actually worked for casinos before doing training for them, and I've actually worked for online poker companies, not based in the U.S., but based elsewhere. And everyone was lovely to me, and they could certainly make the case that most people do it just for enjoyment, and it's money and time you spend the way you would going to the movies or anything else. But I've never seen anyone go to the movies planning on spending $10 and then coming home that night and, oops, I watched $5,000 worth of movies tonight. I've never seen that happen. So that's why I think it is a little bit different, and why it warrants being on guard. What is your weakness? So that's what I want to know from you. What have you done in your life that was either gambling or online something or Facebook, where you really felt like, wow, this is giving me such an intense positive feeling, a state of euphoria. I just want to keep doing this. And maybe you're still doing it. Maybe you got rid of it. Now, for some people, it is Facebook. They just can't resist posting another picture, getting a more like. And for some people, the only answer is delete the app. Do you have anything like that in your life? If so, if you don't mind sharing, and we can be on a first-name basis only, you don't have to reveal. What was it? And how did you cope with it? It's, again, I'm not trying to make it sound like I'm better than anyone else. At that particular moment when I won, the feeling was so good, I said, cold turkey. That's it. I don't want to get hooked on this. This feels too good. I should have put, it was like a TV show or something. I'm practically, tears are coming down my cheeks. I'm dancing. I'm looking for my friend. And again, it was only $250, but it was the sound and the light and the ka-ching. I mean, they really do that nicely. And it's great if you own stock in a gaming company, but for the rest of us trying to get through life unencumbered by habits that could destroy our personal finances, it is a huge danger. And that's topic A for today. Thank you so much for indulging me on this deep dive. What is your biggest euphoria-inducing moment when it comes to something artificial? Cigarettes, alcohol, Facebook, going on TikTok for the first time and getting 50,000 views. What is it that has generated the most excitement for you that has scared you? If you care to share that, let me know. I'd love to know. I'm TJ Walker. Thanks for joining me. If you're a first-timer, this is The Habit Influencer. This is the show where we talk about how we can help each other influence our own personal habits to lead more fulfilling lives. If you are a regular, thanks for coming back. I appreciate you and your time. And we try to make every single day here, every hour of the show, always something interesting and go a little deeper than what you might see in a typical 500-word blog post. There's a lot of great information in the world on habits, a lot of great blogs, a lot of great YouTube videos, but as far as I know, there's no one community where people can just get together live every day, have a live exchange, live conversation back and forth for a couple of hours, and talk to people who are in the field full-time like me and other people just to get different perspectives. So that's what we're all about. Let's check in with our friends today on YouTube. David writes in. David Quasiam of Marketing says hello. Thanks for saying hello. And Durgish writes in, hi TJ. I face the problem while speaking when I talk to myself. I do not stutter, but when I speak in front of someone, I start stuttering and I speak at a rapid pace. Please give me some advice. Thank you. So, Durgis, you're not alone. This is an extraordinarily common problem. And what happens is you're getting nervous. It's normal to be nervous. One solution is to just speak more often. It's very hard to be nervous with something you do every day. I remember as a 15-and-a-half-year-old getting in the car to drive with my permit, I'm a nervous wreck. My hands are at 10 and 2, and I'm checking this light and this light, seatbelt. I'm going through this 20-point checklist as I get in the car. But now, if I have to drive somewhere, I get in the car and don't even think about it because I've done it thousands of times. So the more you speak, the easier it will get. Now, I'm interested in knowing, and you can share, feel free to post if you like, does this happen all the time with every friend or even a family member? Or is it only happening in, say, a social situation or a classroom situation where you're having to stand up in front of 20 people, or a business situation? Because if it's the latter, if it's not something that happens in every conversation, and it's more of a business meeting or something important, then I have a very specific solution for you. Practice what you're going to say on video, record it, look at it, and then figure out what you like and don't like, and really hold yourself accountable to the speed. If you've seen a video of yourself speaking too quickly, then try it again and try to say basically the same thing, but just focus exclusively on speaking slower, speaking more slowly. It can be tedious, but you know what? It really does work. So please give that a try. Let's check in with some of our friends on Instagram. And are we connecting with TikTok on Lula today? Marceau, I'm confused because I'm seeing what looks like TikTok.
Yeah, we are, yeah. That's the comment that I left.
Oh, I didn't. So that's why it says 0 on my phone. Okay, all right. So Kevin Sanders writes in and says hello and has joined. Thanks, Kevin, for joining us. And LE has joined us as well. User 2015 has joined us from TikTok. I was worried about TikTok because I'm looking at TikTok on my phone, and we typically have 60 or so people live, and we had 0 on my phone, but now I realize it's going through a different feed. So our TikTok friends are seeing me through the regular feed today, so it should be a little less distracting for you.
We have about 13 on TikTok right now.
Great. Matt has joined us on Instagram. Stephen is also joining us on TikTok. Inodi on Instagram. And good friends from UpLive, one of the great emerging platforms in the world, has joined us. Mehran, Hero, Mahmoud, all on UpLive. So happy to see so many of you. We will be taking your comments, questions, but I also have to share some that were written in. We've had an awful lot of comments and viewer mail coming in over the last day. This one comes from sort of a long-time student of mine. He's commenting on the Instagram platform. He says, TJ, I'm suffering in India. I've applied for 1,500 jobs in the United States, but no company is willing to sponsor me. I haven't given up, though. So I wrote back to MICU and said, you know, I certainly wish you the best and wish you luck, but I wouldn't wait for some company to sponsor you. I would create a company right now in India, or anyone else who's in Africa or Asia, any place around the world. Don't wait for someone to rescue you or for some country with better opportunities to come rescue you. Start a company right now. And that's really my advice. Make yourself so valuable, make yourself profitable that you become low risk. I can tell you right now, if you make some internet company that is growing with a, has an
for some company to sponsor you, I would make something right now.
Whoops, I'm getting feedback, Marceau. So I thought that was you, but I'm realizing I'm realizing I heard my own voice. Sorry for that technical snafu. The easiest way to get a company to sponsor you in the United States, create a company that's so valuable that someone like Google wants to buy your company. They buy your company, you will have no problem getting into the United States, I assure you. So that was my advice back to him. Start a business now. It can be a copywriting business. I mean, everyone in the world has to sell something. And most people, myself included, even though I'm a best-selling writer, I don't like to do copywriting. So if you could just learn the skill of copywriting, you can make money from anywhere in the world. It requires no capital. So you don't need money to start a copywriting business. What you need is the patience, the ability to read everything you can online for free about copywriting, and then to start learning the craft, and then to start selling it on places like Fiverr and Upwork. So I wrote back to Mick Q suggesting that, and he's telling me he doesn't have funds, and he's talking about the American political system, all sorts of things. And again, I'm very sympathetic. I'll be the first one to tell you, a lot of things are handed to me through nothing that I did of my own, but simply being born in the United States, who I was, when I was. A lot of things flew easily to me. And I recognize that, so I don't mean to sound smug in any way or make it sound like I'm telling people, oh, I did it, you can too. Many people are in different circumstances that are much harsher. But I know this particular individual has been talking to me about this issue for years. You could have started a business now and be making a lot of money, or at least a decent income, and that would give you enough money to come to the United States and visit, just on a tourist visa, and start building more connections. So I would urge you, don't just look for companies to hire you. Focus on creating value every day. Focus on building a business every day. Focus on creating services of value to other people. It'll only open up opportunities for you. You never know. Someone may hire you for a special project, like you, and then want to bring you over and sponsor you. So good luck in that arena. I hope that comes out well too. I want to say hello to our friends on Facebook today. Peggy joining us, one of our regulars, and she is also a training professional, a personal development expert. Peggy, good to see you. Sai's joining us from India. Good to see you, Sai, today. Hope everything's going well there, and glad you could spend primetime Friday evening with us. So thanks so much for spending your valuable time. I hope your week has gone well with your own training, too. I wanted to go to some of the other questions I received in the last 24 hours. This one is from YouTube. This is from Jennifer. She says, I have an hour and a 15-minute lecture coming up in 3 weeks. I've tried memorizing it in the past. It's never worked well, and my anxiety was off the chain. I decided to plan my talk this go-round. Thank you for any words of wisdom you have. Well, some of you have heard me say this before, and I'll say it again. Don't try to memorize a speech. That is a horrible habit because it's really hard. You'll probably fail, and if you don't fail, you'll probably sound like a robot and sound canned because you're kind of going through the motions and reading off a teleprompter in your brain. My recommendation is have a simple one sheet of paper, one page, and it should be a half sheet, large font, no more than 5 key points, another few bullet points for any extra facts, another 2-3 words to remind you of a story for each. This is all I use if I'm giving a 90-minute speech. Well, it's not a blank one, but I would have one with text on it. And if you say, well, TJ, I can't possibly squeeze it down to one page, that means you don't have a problem with memorization. That means you have a problem with judgment. You're not using your judgment on what to eliminate. We talked yesterday about some of the worst habits of speakers. The number one habit, bad habit most speakers have, is trying to convey way too much information, too much data, and simply overwhelming the audience. That is the kiss of death. This is another comment from James on YouTube. It says, I'm taking your Udemy course, and I'm taking another course called Global Messenger Program. But your mentorship on the program's great. Thank you very much. I try to be helpful. I'm stuck on what to speak on. I want to become a public speaker and do a TED Talk and speak at my old university graduation ceremony to give back. But I don't know what to speak on yet. I was going to speak about how languages changes your life and business and love, etc. But Global Messenger Program said not to speak about how to learn a language, but how can we really narrow down something that we want to speak about that can make us a professional speaker. Okay, James, I'm very happy that you wrote that. This brings me to one of the big topics I wanted to discuss on the program today. I had mentioned that was going to be topic D, but let's talk about it right now. Topic D. Do not go around telling people you want to be a TED Talker, that you want to do a TED Talk. I want to do a TED Talk, and then not be able to say what you want to talk about. Look, I like TED, and I watch TED Talks. I've trained many TED speakers. But here's the real key to giving a great TED Talk, and that is to have a tremendous, overwhelming passion for a particular subject and to dive deep into that subject for years and to come up with new, genuine insights that are really going to help a lot of people change their way of thinking, change their way of living, and to have ideas that will really make a difference. Ideas that are worth spreading. That is the tagline of TED. And TEDx tries to live up to that. There's lower standards for TEDx, but they're all trying to do the same thing. That has to be your focus. Al Gore gave a very famous TED Talk on global warming. It was turned into a movie that won Academy Awards. But you know what? He didn't wake up one day and say, wow, it'd be cool to give a TED Talk. That's not what Al Gore did. And folks, we're not talking politics here. Forget the subject matter if you don't like his subject matter. But Al Gore gave a speech on climate change, sometimes 2, 3, 4, 5 times a week, for decades before he ever gave that TED Talk on global warming. He had a passion for a particular subject. He spoke everywhere. The speech went through 1 million different versions. I saw him give that speech 20 years ago in Manhattan, and it was not as good. The slides were not as good. It wasn't as slick as the final TED Talk. It evolved. It changed. It got better. His style got better. So the number one way to be able to give a TED Talk, I believe, is to not even care about TED, but instead go deep in a subject, have a passion for a subject, come up with genuine new insights that help people, and then speak everywhere on that topic. Get better and better at speaking, get better at getting audiences to say, wow, that's really interesting and useful, and they will want to share it with other people. And they may share it to TED organizers. The TED organizers may contact you. Now, you can reach out to TED as well. But here's what they don't want to hear. They don't want to just see someone who has an ambition to be on stage. I'm sure you've known, you may have family members, kids, and maybe when you were 5 years old, someone might say, well, what do you want to be when you grow up? Oh, I want to be a movie star. Well, do you like to act? No. Been in any productions in kindergarten? No. But I'd just like to be rich and famous. It's kind of like, sometimes little boys say, I want to be a professional athlete, yet they don't really want to practice for 3 hours after everyone's gone home from the regular practice, doing what it takes to become a professional athlete. So people have to really figure out, why am I doing this? If it's just for vanity, oh, I would love to be on stage because then I'll be important. I'll validate myself. I'll show to the world how important I am. If that's your motivation, it's very hard to get on the TED stage because that's the one thing they don't want. So, and I do not in any way mean to sound like I'm critical of James. You're young, you're full of ambition, that's great. But your goal shouldn't be to speak at a particular stage. Your goal, I believe, should be to develop expertise and then to share that expertise with any audience and every audience. And if that's what you want, you will eventually reach a lot of people. And it might not even be on the TED stage. There are plenty of people in the world who reach millions through online programs, their own online content, their own social media content, and they reach sometimes 1 billion people. There's plenty of YouTube channels you and I have never heard of where the cumulative audience is 1 billion. And yet there are plenty of people who've spoken at TED, and they have 2,000 views, and no one ever hears from them again, and they got nothing from that particular speech. Again, I think TED is great. If you get invited, fantastic. But I have a client who is sort of your perfect case study of TED. Someone who worked in a well-known international organization, working with human rights for refugees, and she'd worked in the international community for 30 years. She had decade after decade of experience really helping the less fortunate in the world. And when she had the opportunity to put a spotlight on a particular refugee's case, she was asked to give a TED Talk. She rehearsed with me for 6 months. The speech was a huge hit. It got more than 1 million views. She got a book deal from it, and Steven Spielberg commissioned the rights to make a movie from it. So I understand why people want to give a TED Talk. But please realize, she did not just wake up one day and say, oh, wow, wouldn't I be cool if I could tell people I gave a TED Talk? That wasn't the starting point. The starting point was a decades-long commitment and a passion to helping the world in a particular area and bringing out human interest stories for the rest of the world to see. I believe we live in an era where it no longer makes sense to say, I'm a professional speaker, I want to be a professional speaker. And I say this as a former president of the National Speakers Association in New York. Because everybody is a speaker. That doesn't mean anything anymore. The speakers who make real money do so because they have deep reservoirs of expertise. Gary Vaynerchuk, the social media poster boy of success, someone I reference here fairly frequently, didn't wake up one day and say, I don't want to work in the wine store anymore. I want to have a cushy life and be a speaker and go out and give speeches and make a lot of money. That's not what he said. He focused 18 hours a day making his wine business successful. He did that. And then he focused 18 hours a day making his internet marketing business, his ad agency successful, started speaking everywhere for free. And then there was so much demand, he started increasing the fee to the point now where I think it's, if it's not 100,000, it's pretty close. That's how you get to be a speaker, is be so incredibly passionate about ideas you have to help other people that people are constantly clamoring for you. And he's someone I think has not given a TED Talk. He might have, but I don't remember seeing him specifically giving a TED Talk. But I guarantee you, more people have heard his message and have seen him and have felt like he's personally helped their lives than 99.9% of the TED speakers in the world. And I have tremendous respect for most TED speakers. But first focus on your area of expertise. Go deep in a subject matter where you feel like you can be the best in the world, where you have unique insights into helping people. And then speak everywhere. Speak on TikTok for 15 seconds. Speak on Facebook. Do live streaming like this for 2 hours. Speak, 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 and more invitations will come to you from TED and every place else. So James, that's my advice to you. Good luck. I'm TJ Walker. We'll be back after this break in just about 1 minute. Thanks. Okay. Hey, I'm curious, why are we doing TikTok that way today?
I just happened to try it on Lula, and it went through. I have a dedicated screen up just to TikTok, so see.
I mean, I prefer doing it that way, but
It's gonna go off at 2 o'clock though for Instagram. So.
oh, but I thought they had something that basically caught me on that and said I was in violation of terms, and we didn't want to get kicked off the whole platform. I thought that was our reason.
Well, I guess for today they just let us back, let it back on.
Mm-hmm.
I just happened to press the button and it went live.
Well, let's see.
And we were already on and all that.
Well, we'll see if they don't.
That comment in the stream.
Okay. All right. Okay, I'm ready to come back.
All right. 1, 2, 3, and you're live.
Hi, I'm TJ Walker, back to The Habit Influencer. It is Friday, Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's to you, and hope you're having a wonderful day and evening if you're in India, and hope you have a great weekend too. Going through some of the mail and comments from people all over the globe writing in. You can either write in by email. You can also send me a tweet, and now I'm happy to say I've got my Twitter handle back. Don't ask about the details, but you can always tweet me at TJ Walker is my Twitter handle. So you can always communicate with us there, or you can just write to me, TJ at tjwalker.com. Let's go to some more mail from some of my students. This one is from John. He's in my new course on creativity. I'm planning to migrate to the United Kingdom with my family. Your course is grateful and useful. Thanks for the encouragement. I'm looking forward to submit one project for my visa process. Please give me your valuable suggestions. So, John, I'm flattered you think I have valuable suggestions on a lot of things. This is not something I have a valuable suggestion on, other than, I don't know what country you're in now, but if you're trying to migrate to the United Kingdom, my first bit of advice, my suggestion is call or email an attorney based in the United Kingdom and ask them what is the best way to facilitate your process. Go for the experts who know, and be wary of people who try to hold themselves off as generic wise men, wise people. So I try to be very, very specific and focused on where I help people. For many years, I just focused on helping people with their habits for public speaking and speaking to the media. And then after many years of study and further reflection and refinement, I broadened it to helping people with their habits as it relates to their own personal behavior. But I don't try to give advice on every single aspect of life, because I could give you bad legal advice. If they have some requirement trying to figure out if you're creative, then certainly I would recommend whatever you do that reveals creativity, do it. If you can make an online course, do it. If you're a brilliant sculptor, make it. If you've got something in the Tate Museum already in London, then showcase that. But first, speak to an attorney there. I think that's your best piece of advice I can give. Pooja writes in. She is a student in my voice training course. I don't talk about it that often, but I do have a course just on how to improve your voice and how to get more comfortable with your voice and how to use the full range of your voice, especially when you're giving speeches and presentations. Pooja says, help me with some more efficient techniques to overcome stammering. Now, Pooja, if you're watching now, let me know, does the stammering happen all the time or just with larger groups or with teachers or clients or more intimidating audiences? If the stammering happens all the time, then I would indeed suggest you see a licensed speech pathologist to help you, because there can be very specific behavior-based therapies to help with that, and that's not my expertise, frankly. Where I am an expert is what I see much more commonly, where people don't stammer at all, When they're talking to friends, family, one person, one-on-one, they're not stammering at all. But because they have to stand up and now speak to 3 people or 5 people or 10 people because they're out of their comfort zone, that's where the stammering takes place. That I'm an expert on. And I can tell you the solution is not practicing in a mirror. It's not visualizing your audience in their underwear. It's not staring at their nose. The solution is to practice what you're going to say on video. Just practice on your cell phone. Do it again and again and again until you like what you say and the stammering has been reduced. Everyone stammers occasionally. No one cares. So don't hold yourself to some standard of perfection. I know a guy, he stammered, he had a lisp, he was short, fat, and bald. Does this sound like a great communicator, someone everyone really wants to look at? Again, a speech impediment, a stammer, a lisp, short, fat, and bald. I'm talking about Winston Churchill, who went down, and I realize for our friends in India, that's not really a popular example, but for many parts of the world, he is a symbol of being a great speaker. He didn't let a stammer bother him. So don't judge yourself too harshly, but do practice. And if you have to stand up and answer a question from a boss or a CEO in a board meeting and you don't know exactly what you're going to say, you can still practice, Pooja. I'm not letting you off the hook. You can throw practice questions to yourself, stand up and speak, and get used to thinking, standing, and speaking at the same time, and the stammer can be greatly, greatly reduced. So good luck with that, and I hope the stammer can, if not disappear, at least be minimized to the point where you don't worry about it and no one else mentions it either. Very happy to see a lot of responses to my short video today. Every morning I put out a video that's between 15 seconds and 30 seconds, or 60 seconds, on some habit topic of the day. And today, this morning, I put out one that just asked, what's your best habit? What's the habit that really helps you the most? And what's your worst habit? And got a number of interesting responses. This one from Clinton, posting on Facebook. I get to walk this trail daily in solitude and peace. There are eagles there, hawks, animals galore. Yesterday, I had a peregrine falcon show up over at my mom's when I was visiting, which is rare. More gratitude. So thanks, Clinton, for sharing that. And Clinton was nice enough, I can't show it to you easily. He actually took the time of posting pictures of the beautiful woods he walks in. Clinton, I'm with you there. Unless it's a rainy day or bitterly cold, one of the daily habits I have is to go for a walk at least 1 hour every day. And if it is too cold or rainy as it's been the last few days, then I'll do it on a treadmill. Even then, I carve out at least 10 minutes where I have no cell phone, no headphone, no iPad, no nothing, and it's sort of a digital detox. But normally when I go for my walk, I absolutely never take a cell phone with me. It is a complete digital detox. So, Clinton, thanks for sharing that. Now, Clinton also says, for best habit, I look in a mirror and say, I love you, thank you, please forgive me if I hurt you. Now, interesting sort of self-affirmation. So, Clinton, thanks for sharing that. And you say, is your worst habit, sometimes I scream in my car at God, not sure if he really appreciates it, okay? Well, Clinton, if that's the worst thing you ever do, it sounds like you have a lot on the ball. So thanks for sharing that with us. Anwar writes, a good habit's walking alone. Now, I do like walking with family members and friends, but it's a different experience. When you are walking alone and you're not checking email and you're not thinking about, oh, that call that's going to come in because you have your cell phone, it really can be what some people, this may sound overly fancy, but a walking meditation. You really can let your mind drift. You can go into a state of reflection. Deeper thought, a deeper sense of tranquility will come in. And that's how so many of the greatest philosophers, business leaders, from Einstein to Steve Jobs, to Nietzsche, so many people who were great creators walked every single, Thoreau walked hours and hours a day. So I do recommend that as a good core base habit. Others wrote, and Clinton also sent a number of fabulous pictures of the falcons and the other animals and wildlife he saw. So thanks so much for doing that. I do appreciate that. Helen, right, and Helen's right. I'm not going to mention her full name. I try to never embarrass anyone on this show. I'm a big believer that let's help each other out. Let's help people with their own habits. Everyone has some bad habits. I have some bad habits. We're all in this together as humans trying to get to the next step. So I'm not a believer of trying to mock anyone or criticize anyone. This is someone who wrote, I won't even say what social media site, it's one of the big sites, wrote to me just a personal message. Says, hi, my name is, I am finishing up my senior year at Duke. Oh, that's the same college I went to. Duke University. So she probably saw that on my profile it said I was a Duke graduate. I'm very interested in your background and would love to get your advice on how to get started production or other areas of the industry. If you have 5 minutes to spare, I would love to connect. Thank you so much in advance. Hope to hear from you. Now, I almost didn't respond here. So let's talk about some habits that I think apply pretty much universally around the world. If you're reaching out to someone online and you don't know them and they don't know you, you should at least put their name. I mean, this just says hi. So I got the sense that this person just randomly went to every single person in the register who had a Duke connection. So she's sending, and maybe she narrowed it down to people in the New York City area. So I got the sense that she just sent blind emails, cut and paste, hi, the same generic form letter to 500 people yesterday. So I almost didn't respond. The other thing that troubles me is I don't think she proofed the letter, because she went to Duke University, and you have to have pretty good English skills to get out of there, shall we say. But one of her sentences, it doesn't make sense from an English standpoint. Would love to get your advice on how to get started production or other areas of the industry. I don't even know what that means. Started in production? Well, I'm not really in production or other areas of the industry. What industry? I did write back and say, hey, I'm happy to talk to you if you want to write into my live show. I sort of figure, well, I'll promote my show. Now, to her credit, she did write back to me, say she couldn't join the show today, and maybe will next week. So don't mention to her that I said this. But I do want to stress, habits of how you market yourself can have a huge impact on your career. And the scattershot of let's just cut and paste a generic form letter and send it to 1,000 people, quite often will end up in 0 responses. You'd be much better off spending a half an hour really giving some thought and thinking about how you're approaching someone, certainly mentioning them by name, and maybe instead of sending out 500 emails, you only send out 2 that day. But one of them is likely to get a real response and real feedback. So keep that in mind. I do hope to hear from this I hope she joins the show next week, and I am happy to give advice in that context. Let's check in, and I think we've had a couple of other friends join us on social media. Kashardi has joined us on TikTok. Always happy to see so many good friends joining us on TikTok. On Instagram, Lekanasani has joined us. We have others on YouTube who've signed in. Rashid has said, TJ, how to keep motivation for a habit? Well, there's a big debate right now among personal development experts, habit experts, on the role of motivation. Traditionally, so much of it was about, you got to get motivated, you got to shoot for the stars, you've got to go to the top of the mountain, get motivated. And increasingly, there's been a pendulum swing back the other way of people saying, it's really hard to be motivated in the long term. Motivation is good for a weekend. You're at some famous personal development workshop, and they're having you walk across hot coals. There's thousands of people around. There's great music. Everyone's excited. It's easy to be motivated then. 2 months later, it's Tuesday morning at 9:30 a.m. and you don't like your job. Is that motivation going to help you then? I am a big believer in structuring your life, structuring your days in such a way that you have so many good habits that they just propel you to where you want to go, even if you're not feeling motivated. That's what I think the success is. Because if you show to yourself that you can still do what you want to do on a daily basis, even when you're having a bad day, you've got a headache, you're tired, you didn't sleep well, had an argument with a family member, there's going to be down days. That's when motivation will betray you. But if you have habits that you're going to do every single day, no matter what, that can bring you through. And over time, that can be what motivates you. So I actually find daily habits to be the thing that motivate people the most. Let me share I hinted at this earlier in the week. I wasn't sure I wanted to show it to you because it is very personal, but I appreciate so many of you being here with me today, giving up your time on a Friday afternoon, or in the case of Sayan, Pooja, and others in India, prime time. So I'm going to share with you something deeply personal. I'm going to share with you what I call my selfie media program. And you've heard me talk about my selfie speak programming. That's where you just talk into your cell phone and tell yourself the habits you want to practice on a daily basis. I've now taken selfie pictures of myself where I show a picture. Some of them have text, but it's a picture of me doing the thing that I want to do, every single habit. Now, here's the interesting thing about it. You've heard the expression, a picture says 1,000 words. So it's so much faster. My Selfie Speak program, I've had some of the past an hour long. I've had some that are 20. Today, my Selfie Speak audio program is about 13 minutes. So that's not much longer than the typical YouTube video, and I can listen to that anytime. You know, I'm doing other things, eating breakfast. It's very flexible because I'm just listening to it on headphones. But with images, this is a photo album I have. You have to kind of look at it. But it's less than 2 minutes long. It's only 1 minute and 43 seconds long. And I'm going to play it for you when we come back from the break. So at the top of the hour, we're going to take a 3-minute break, as is custom here. But at 2:03, when we come back, I'm going to show you how I basically program my brain using the power of, and now I can show it to you since I'm not connecting to our friends on TikTok. I'm going to show you what it is. It's just a cell phone, a selfie. All of us are used to taking selfies all the time. Now, instead of just taking pictures looking like this and looking at other people's pictures of their food and their fancy vacations, I'm going to use this tool to look at pictures, to cue myself to do the daily habits I want to do to power my life. You're not going to want to miss this. And it's not because it's great photography. A lot of it was just taken as a selfie on my phone, but it's powerful programming if I watch it every day, which I plan on doing. I'm TJ Walker. This is The Habit Influencer. Stay tuned because this is going to be the last hour. We're together until Monday. Thanks so much. See you in 3 minutes. Be right back. So, how big of an audience do we have? I was kind of scared that we had 0 people on TikTok. What's that? Well, I told you I got something that said our password was changed. God, don't rely on my memory for things like that. Just want to see if I had other comments on my post. Okay, let's do it. Welcome back to The Habit Influencer. This is hour 2. It is Friday, February 14th, Valentine's Day. This is the last hour of the show for the entire week. So I'm glad you're here. As promised, in just a moment, I'm going to share with you how I try to essentially brainwash myself, but brainwashing in the way I want. I'm going to show you how I try to put in visual cues to motivate myself, discipline, give inspiration, give willpower to myself to do on a daily basis the things I want to do. Now, what you're going to see will seem like a bit of a blur because it's going to be images that just go by 1 second at a time in text. So you may look at it and think, huh? Here's the thing. Because I thought about each one, and I've already been hearing these in my Selfie Speak audio, and I wrote it, and I picked out the picture. I know what they mean, so it's reinforcing it. If you show someone from Mars a quick Nike image or a quick Coca-Cola logo, it's not going to mean anything. But to any of us, because we know the context, that quick Nike swoosh means something. That Coca-Cola logo means something. It elicits a response. It's a cue that quite often motivates action. So I'm going to show you what I look at each day. If you have questions,
to load up the S&P video.
Okay.
It's almost there. We can go to the video for tomorrow if you want, or if you want, you can keep talking about it.
Okay. Well, hang on.
Like 30 seconds.
Okay. Well, that's no problem. While we're waiting for the video to load, I did have another comment come in, and this time I believe it was from either Instagram or TikTok. And this is from Tim. I'm also a Tim, by the way. It says, thanks, TJ. Always inspiring, talking about the short video clip I put up today. Do you have some tips to develop discipline? Well, that's what we're going to show you in just a moment. There's 3 main techniques I use. One of them you've heard me talk about for a long time, and that is the Selfie Speak programming, where you simply tell yourself what you're going to do. So, Tim, if you want to have the discipline of doing 20 jumping jacks first thing in the morning when you get up, just create an audio recording saying, Tim, you're going to do 20 jumping jacks every morning, and then you got to listen to that audio every day. And then to further increase your odds of doing that, have a little note in your memos. I've tried various apps for habits. I found them too complicated. I just use the notes section on my phone. And so I have something that says, TJ, did you do 20 jumping jacks this morning? And I put a simple W for win. Yes, I wanted that today. So that's the second way I really build the discipline. And to our questioner in the previous segment, the motivation to do this thing. Now, if one of those 2 things doesn't work, I now have a third way of driving home this message to myself that, by golly, you're going to do jumping jacks today, every day. And that is one of my habits. It's a simple, kind of trivial, easy one, but it's just, I start off every day doing 20 jumping jacks. You'll see in just a moment in the video at the part, and it's not a video, it's a photo album where there's a different picture, a different selfie picture taken every second, and you'll see me doing what looks like a jumping jack. So take a look at this. This is not designed to win production awards. And I'm a horrible photographer, but it's pictures of me, again, many of them taken on my cell phone. It's really only for me to look at. And what I'm hoping to do is to motivate you to do something similar, because some of you might not want to record your own voice, but you don't mind taking pictures of yourself. So for example, if you want more discipline to not eat junk food and to eat more fresh fruit, why don't you take a picture of yourself, a selfie of yourself, eating fresh fruit, and then look at that picture once a day. Or better yet, string it together in an album. And it's not that hard. Put a little music behind it. That's what I've done too. So Marceau, let's go to the selfie media programming, and you can take a look.
And no.
So it's hard enough to understand. If you don't mind, let's start over on that and let's size it the right way. And let's just go back to the beginning. And again, folks, this is not a movie. It's not a video. It's just basically 100 pictures. There's 100 habits I try to fulfill every day. And there's just one picture for each one, pretty much. So let's start at the beginning again.
All right. 1, 2, 3.
That's it. Again, this is not going to win an Academy Award. It's not intended for anyone to see it. It's only for me. I show it to you, not because I want to dazzle you and make you think, oh, this is a great video that's going to go viral. I don't plan on showing that to anyone else, again, frankly. But I wanted you to see what I'm doing, because I try to experiment on myself. I'm not a madcap scientist, drinking a potion that could turn me into a frog. I'm not experimenting in any dangerous way. But I try to never give you advice on how to improve your habits if I haven't tested it on myself first to make sure it actually works. And I try not to be a hypocrite. So for example, every habits expert will tell you, start your day to make your bed. I don't make my bed. Sorry if that makes me an awful person, but I don't. So I'm not going to tell you you have to make your bed, although I do agree that it's a perfectly fine habit to have, and it can get your day started off the right way. So let me know if you have any habits about that. I'm curious, are any of you willing to make your own selfie media program? SMP is what I call it. I like to think of it as programming. You've heard of neuro-linguistic programming. You've certainly heard of television ads, radio ads that are trying to program your brain to buy more Kentucky Fried Chicken and McDonald's hamburgers. This is an attempt to use multimedia, to use the power of a picture in a way to control ourselves the way we want to. Because all day long, every second, our brains are being bombarded with images, corporate logos, corporate spokespeople begging us to take some action, to build some new habit, go to this casino, buy this new car you can't afford, eat this junk food full of sugar and fat and salt. We're being bombarded through images, TV ads, radio, video ads, billboards, pictures in magazines. Why not use that power for ourselves? So that's the concept behind it. I personally am more comfortable making an audio. This took longer making this little slideshow than a 15-minute audio, which I can do just by talking for 15 minutes, and you can too. But some people are more comfortable with taking pictures and not hearing their own voice. So let me know, are you willing to try something like this? Now, I think it needs to be personalized to you. But we could come up with something generic. It wouldn't have my face on it, and you wouldn't, see me in bed. That's not the image you want for how you end your day. But we could, in theory, come up with something generic for this, but I don't think it would have the impact. I am a big believer that everyone is different, everyone is unique, everyone has special habits that they want to work on for them at their point in life. So, for example, one of the images you saw there was play a game. Now, for a lot of you, you might think, TJ, that's my worst habit. I waste 4 hours a day on video games. I'm trying to build the habit of not doing it. Well, for me, it's the opposite. I can go a month or two and realize, well, other than playing tennis once this week, I haven't done any kind of fun game. So I specifically have as a goal to play a game. And it's often something I do in 30 seconds, but it's a short little game online. It's a word game, or it's like a crossword puzzle, things like that. So I want to know, are you willing to try your own, just by taking selfies, your own SMP, your selfie media program, to give some discipline to your life, to give some motivation to your life, and to attempt to manipulate yourself? Again, if it's you manipulating yourself, that's a good thing, I think. If it's me trying to manipulate you, or big corporations, or political leaders, that's the problem. This whole show is devoted to the idea that you need to have more control over your own life. And I'm trying to give you every tool I can. This is the newest tool I have. This is the tool I'm most excited about, and that I'm experimenting with the most right now. But let me know if you're willing to try this yourself. I would love to hear. Now, we're getting a few other calls and emails in. Sai has written in, that's great. And I just received a very, very helpful email. I won't forget, I won't cover all of it. But Peggy writes in and says, TJ, I really enjoy the show, and I especially like when you are answering people's questions, and it's faster and it's more interactive. Well, Peggy, I agree with you. That's the funnest part for me too. So I'm happy to do even more of that rather than the lengthy prepared segments. So Peggy, I appreciate that. And Peggy, again, very polite and nice, but kind of in a polite way, saying I went on a little too long yesterday talking about obesity, even though it's a very important topic. Peggy, I want to hear from you, and I very much appreciate your thoughts on that. This show can't get better unless you tell me not just what you like, but what you don't like, so we can constantly tweak it, improve it, refine it, and getting better. One of the habits of the really successful is that they can listen to a wide range of feedback and use that dispassionately to figure out how to make small incremental improvements to get it better and better and better. I guarantee you, Steve Jobs listened to the criticism people had of the first iPhone. I was one of them. I said, this is horrible. I can't type on this. If you remember, if you had one of the first iPhones, as I did, it was virtually impossible to type. You had to press like 3 or 4 times on a piece of glass to get the keyboard to work. Well, they made it better. They listened to feedback, they refined it, and they made it better. And that's what we're trying to do here as well. So, Peggy, very much appreciate that. Thank you so much. And again, you can always, if you want me to keep something confidential, you can always just say this is not for broadcast when you're writing an email. But you can always send me an email, tj@tjwalker.com. You can send me a tweet @tjwalker, very easy to remember. And you can also post on social media. Let's go to some more comments coming in. And let's see, did we talk to Durgish yet? TJ, I face a problem speaking when I talk to myself. I don't stutter, but in front of someone, I start stuttering at a rapid pace. Please give me some advice. Now, that one we did. I was thinking, please tell me I'm not losing my memory, because I could have sworn I answered that question. Okay. Hunan Bao Nalguk at Natalie Robbins says, that's real inspired. I will do the same. So I'm glad. The SMP. Okay, so you liked the selfie media program. And maybe that's too gimmicky, trying to call it an SMP. I'll be transparent with you. I'm trying to figure out something that can be seen as a thing. People know what NLP is, neuro-linguistic programming. People know what hypnosis is, self-hypnosis is, behavior-based therapy. There's a lot of things that sort of take a name, they take a life of their own, and they reach a wider audience. So that's what I'm trying to do. And it's not a technology I've developed. I'm simply using a technology in a way that I think is more effective to help you. I didn't obviously invent the cell phone or the camera on the cell phone. I'm simply trying to use tools that big corporations, governments, other powerful entities in the world have done, combine that with stuff human beings already like doing. People love taking selfies of themselves. I mean, sometimes I'm on a vacation somewhere and you can't even get to the main attraction and no one's even looking at it because everyone is in front of it taking pictures of themselves and they're not even looking at the dolphins or the Grand Canyon or anything else. So I know that people like taking selfies. And I know that people are influenced by audio, radio ads, text ads, video ads, picture ads. I'm trying to combine the two to empower us as individuals. So I'm glad you're finding that helpful. Please let me know if you try it. Try it over the weekend and report back to us on Monday. Sai writes in, my client college has invited to take sessions on interview skills for the students. I'd taken interview skills sessions later. The college management called me, asked me to invite me as a full-time faculty and English lecturer in interviewer skills. What decision should I take on, may I know your guidance on decision? I'm not quite sure I followed that. It sounds like you're getting some traction and you're in your young training business. The main thing I would suggest to you as you're starting out your training career, and I was not always very good at this, maintain strong relationships with everyone. They may have only hired you for a day. Send them a newsletter, if not once a week, at least every couple of weeks, so they never forget you. You see them in the news, send them a note. You see a story that was interested them, send it to them. Stay in touch with your clients. I have clients that I worked with 30 years ago who still call me and hire me. I have clients I worked with 25 years ago who still call me and hire me. But I had a whole lot that I did work with 30 years ago, 25 years ago, and I wasn't taking my business seriously. And I didn't collect their data, and I didn't stay in touch by email, and it has cost me, if not millions, at least many, many, many hundreds of thousands of dollars by not keeping the data and by not protecting and preserving the relationship. So if the people at the university like you and they think you give their students great information and tips and they feel you are sincere and you're always trying to make it better, they will find ways to keep hiring you. Put you on the payroll, pay you more, expand your portfolio. If they feel like you're just there to check a box, collect a paycheck for the day, to do an adequate job, that may be good enough, but they'll instantly forget you. And that's not how you build a long-term reputation. The habit you want to get across, that you want to build right now, early in your career, is treating every single person you get in front of as if they are the most important person, most important client in the world that you might ever have. Give them your full treatment. Give them your best treatment. Share everything with them. Maybe they didn't pay to have access to your online course or a new electronic book you've created. Give it to them anyway. It will come back to you in the long run. So, Cy, that is my recommendation. Have a little treat for you. We're going to give you a quick preview since those of you are nice enough to join us for the live show. We're going to show you something that no one else gets to see until tomorrow or later in the weekend. We're going to show you an upcoming video that will be posted on our YouTube channel and our Facebook page, but it's not posted yet. So it's for your eyes first. Want your feedback and critique as well. So let's roll the video, Marceau, and take a look. The biggest thing I think most people could do to help their financial position in 2020, and it's different advice from what it was 30 years ago, 40 years ago. The biggest piece. Okay, so Peggy just wrote to me and says, I'm not sure if you and Marceau know it or not, but whenever you go on break, the audio is still on the entire time.
Yeah, sometimes it's there's like three different.
Make money. Create an online course. Sell it for $9, $10 quite often. Get a couple of bucks each one. It will add up. Here's the other thing about finances, and I found this personally. If you spend your time following a particular passion and reading about that passion and studying that passion and watching videos about that subject matter, that actually reduces your spending on other. You don't have as much time for soccer games and cricket games and baseball games, and you don't have quite as much time to go to the movies, although I still like to go to the movies. If you're focusing and diving deeper into your passion, you're spending less quite often. Now, you may spend some on books. I spend a lot of money every single week on more books on habits and personal development. But that's in part because I like to read paper books. If you're willing to read online, on an iPad, on a cell phone, there are more than 1 million books available for free on Google Books and other platforms online. So you don't have to spend a thing. Focus your energies creating something. Again, that's what's completely different about being a human being on planet Earth in 2020 that could not be said even 10 years ago, 50 years ago, 100 years ago. For the last 200,000 years of human-type animals on this planet, it couldn't be said. For most of human existence, you had to rely on the beneficence of a king or a dictator. You had to be a sharecropper. You had to hope for the whims of good weather to sell enough crops to keep from starving to death. You couldn't simply start a business. You couldn't create a product and sell it to the whole world. Today is different. Again, I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying it's get rich quick. But if your immediate task is, how do you get a $1,000 nest egg so that if you or your kid has to get a new tooth or a minor medical emergency, or you need a new muffler on your car, it doesn't throw you into a crisis. It doesn't depress you. Because if you're worried about how you can pay to get your car out of the shop, guess what else happens? Your sleep habits disintegrate. Your eating habits disintegrate. First of all, you're not going to be able to buy healthy food. You're probably going to buy or just eat old stuff in packages and things already in your house and back of the cupboard that are not particularly healthy. And unfortunately, these days, the least expensive food, the McDonald's dollar hamburger stuff, is also the least healthy for you. So that's the real problem, and that's why I'm begging you, if you don't have a rainy day fund, don't simply wait for a miracle. Don't wait for a rich person to drive by and toss a bag of gold out the window and land on the corner at your feet. Don't play the lottery. I apologize if this sounds condescending, but I do agree with Oscar Wilde, I believe, who once said, the lottery is a tax on the ignorant. Yes, people win, but 99.999% of people lose all their money in the lottery. That's not the strategy for you building the $1,000 nest egg. And again, what's so different about today, what's exciting about today, is you don't have to appeal to a gatekeeper, that lucky break, that foreman at the plant to just give you that promotion. You don't have to cross your fingers and hope that publisher or that broadcaster in a big city on the other end of the country you live in gives you that stamp of approval to distribute your book, to sell your videos. You can do it yourself. You can create a video and sell it on Amazon. Now, I have not made a lot of money selling videos on Amazon, but you can do it. I have some for sale there. There are so many ways of making money just from what's in here, your own ideas, your own creativity, combined with perhaps a little typing or a little speaking on camera or audio. You can make an audio book and sell. Again, I've made audiobooks before. I didn't make much money. You might be more successful. So if you are not happy with your current financial state, I'm not asking you to spend every single evening, weekend, never have fun, never watch another soccer game or football game or baseball. I'm not asking you to give up everything. But I am asking you, carve out at least 10 minutes a day where you're creating something. You're working on a creation that you want to sell to the world. Now you may say, well, TJ, I want to keep my hobbies. Okay, I can respect that, but guess what? If you can't afford your car to go to the baseball, because your car's in the shop because you can't afford it, you're not going to be able to go to that next baseball game, whether to watch or to play. So you got to pick your poison. And if it's just 10 minutes a day and your hobby is spending 2 hours a day playing chess, for example, spend 10 minutes a day writing a book about chess masters or creating a video on beginners for chess. You may be intermediate. You may be so far away from a grandmaster it's not even funny. But if you've been playing chess for a couple of years, there's no reason why you couldn't create a course just for beginners. So that's my big suggestion for you. And I realize that it doesn't sound comforting if you don't have money. Sometimes it can be hopeless. And I've been there. And I've been there as an adult. But I'm telling you, no one is just going to come magically and wipe away your debt. Nobody's going to come give you all the money you need. You're probably not going to win the lottery. It's got to be up to you. And it's never been easier. I'm not saying it's easy, but it's never been easier to make money from your own creation. So I'm asking you, if you don't have $1,000, are you willing to spend 10 minutes a day? Because I'm willing to bet a year from now, you will have made at least $1,000 from your own creations. Give it a try. 1, 2,
3, and you're back.
Thanks for watching that. That one is a recorded one. People use the phrase pre-recorded, which doesn't really make sense. If something is recorded, it's not pre-recorded, it's simply recorded. But that's the common phrase, that was pre-recorded video. So tell me what you think of that. What do you like? What do you not like? Marceau and I are still experimenting with different techniques. One day we get feedback from people saying, "I'll get rid of the music." And we want to hear from all of you. But someone wrote just yesterday on YouTube, "Get rid of the music, it's distracting." And yet when I go to YouTube and I look at the most wildly successful personal development experts and their videos with millions of views, then they typically have music and they have video images. It's not just talking heads. So we're still experimenting to see what works, what people like, and we want your feedback. Marceau, I have to tell you, I feel very fortunate we have such a nice audience and a nice community. I shouldn't say audience, community is really what we are. One of our members just wrote to me and Marceau a moment ago and say, "TJ, I don't know if you realize it, but your microphone is on during the breaks." No, I didn't realize it, but I have been around enough microphones, radio, TV studios for the last 35 years to know it's always good to assume the microphone is on. So I hope I didn't say anything offensive or obnoxious, but it was a little distracting, I assume. So I apologize for that. We try to always keep things professional, but one habit tip for you. If you're ever around a microphone, don't say anything you wouldn't want the whole world to know. And it reminds me of one of my 4 favorite movies of all time. It's a movie starring Andy Griffith from 1957, and it's called A Face in the Crowd. And if you ever get a chance to watch it, I would highly recommend it. But in this movie, it's a small-town guy who's sort of a hick and rises to power through his own TV show, radio show, media stardom as a singer-performer, becomes a bit of a political commentator, too, but becomes increasingly cynical and manipulative and abusive towards everyone. And one day, when his show is ending and the music is playing and they're rolling the credits, he says incredibly condescending, nasty things about how stupid his audience is. And because he had alienated his engineers to such a point, they changed the volume intake and they fed out on live national TV in 1950, the movie set in 1957, completely destroying this person's career. So it reminded me of that. Thankfully, I don't think I said anything horribly condescending to anyone. And for better or for worse, we don't have an audience of 50 million people the way this fictional character did. But I do want to thank the person who wrote in. If you see things you like, share it. You see things you don't like, share it. I do want to hear from you. By the way, if you like the video you just saw, it'll be up tomorrow on Facebook, YouTube, other major media platforms. Please like it and leave a comment when you see it. It helps so much with the algorithms of social media and when they see other people commenting. And that sends signals, let's show it to other people. If you look at it, like it, and don't say anything, then YouTube, Facebook thinks, nobody really likes it. And it kind of dies a quiet death. So when you do see things like it, please, if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can just type in TJ Walker plus Habit Influencer or TJ Walker Personal Development. You'll find my YouTube channel, and you can type in either one of those on Facebook as well. So there's some other stories I wanted to get to. We'll get to our remaining comments today. If I haven't gotten to you, we'll try to get to you by the end of the show. It's not too late if you want to type in comments, whether you're on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, or Up Live. We will try to get to you on that. I haven't done any plugging all day long, so I have to do just a very brief plug on the newest online course I have, the Complete Creativity Course, Unleash Your Innovation Now. There's a link to the discount, a very steep discount. It's normally $200. You can get this course for about, I think, $10 today. And you'll learn a lot of my techniques with the Selfie-Speak programming on how to unleash your creativity, how to have more discipline and motivation when it comes to your creativity as well. Okay, I want to move to our next big topic before we run out of time today. And I'm going to be relatively brief on this. But I saw one just today on what looked like a very reputable personal development website. You see it, you see flashing ads all the time. And it said simply this: want to lose 20 pounds fast? Well, I can understand wanting to lose 20 pounds. I've been times in my life when I've been 20 pounds overweight. And sure, who wouldn't love to lose it like that? The problem is the old adage, the old cliche, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Yes, it is possible to lose 20 pounds quickly, but it's not possible to keep the weight off for the long term if you try to do it that quickly. That's the part they don't teach you. Now, here's one thing I do know from marketing experts who will confide. When you see the before and after pictures, someone with a perfectly chiseled abs looking great, and then the before where they're sort of bloated and frowning, here's what happens. Marketers will walk down the beach, whether it's Venice Beach in California, South Beach in Miami. They'll find someone with a perfect body, and they'll say, hey, you want to make a couple $1,000? They then take the picture of the person in their natural state looking perfect. And they'll say, okay, here's $1,000 today. You come back in 3 weeks to put on 10 pounds of fat, slump over, frown, you get the other $1,000 and lose all your definition and just eat a whole bunch of ice cream and candy for a couple of weeks. That's how they get those great before and after pictures. It's not because the person did that diet program and was really overweight and got the perfect chiseled ab. That's not how you get it. So a little behind the scenes insight on how those before and after pictures are taken. Anytime you see someone say, you want to lose 20 pounds quickly, my advice, run. It's not necessarily that the information will kill you or will poison you, although that could be the case. The problem is it's not sustainable. Rule number one for me when trying to create a new habit and trying to figure out the discipline to maintain the habit is asking yourself, is this sustainable? Can I really do this in the long run? Now, for many Americans and many people around the globe who are now drastically overweight or obesity, ask yourself, what was your plan to get obese? It wasn't, I'm going to work really hard and get obese this weekend. That's not how any of us did it. If you wanted to get really overweight and gain 20 pounds, you didn't have to try to do it in 2 weeks. Very few people gain 20 pounds in 2 weeks. You did it by subscribing to the habit of eating just a little more every day than you needed. One extra dessert. It's that consistent habit that helped you gain the weight and continue gaining weight, often for years and decades. You need another consistent habit to help you get back to your normal weight. So unless you see a sign, here's the problem from a business standpoint, a marketing standpoint. If you put up a sign or an internet ad that says, lose 20 pounds really slowly over the next year, no one's going to click it. Can't blame the marketers on that. Have to blame ourselves. I'm TJ Walker. This is The Habit Influencer. Thanks for joining me today. Let's take a few other comments from YouTube. Roger writes, nice images and video that you incorporated. Where do you find free images and video clips? So, Roger, if you're talking about the last video we just posted, we use a particular service. It's not free. It's not particularly expensive. Marceau, what is the name of the video database and image database we use?
Storyblock.
We use Storyblock, and it's not particularly expensive. It is, what is it a month, roughly? $30 or $40?
Yeah, it's about $39.99.
So about
a higher package because we make so many videos every single day. So for about $50 a month, you can do the same thing.
So around $50 a month, you can buy rights to video. I would caution you, if you're just a college kid doing something for fun and you use somebody's image, you probably won't get in trouble. I don't recommend it, but you probably won't get in trouble. But if you are a real business and you have a website and a professional image and you're caught using someone else's image, you're going to get caught and fined. And it's happened to me before. I didn't know that I had done it, but I had, unfortunately, a less than thorough web designer put images that did not belong to us on a website of mine many years ago. And I got a legal letter FedEx to me saying, pay us $2,500 to Getty Images by tomorrow, or we sue you for $7,500, and we've never lost. So be very careful about using images. That's why we pay for the rights to use it, Roger. And I just want to make sure we're talking about the same thing, because we also showed the what looked like a video, but it was just a photo album of my selfie speak programming, of my selfie media programming. Those were just either selfies of me or pictures that were taken by my wife on a regular camera. So when you take your own picture, you own the rights to it. That's the easiest way a lot of times. So I hope that's helpful, Roger. Roger also writes, I feel like my speaking is often lethargic and lacks energy. Any ideas on how to add energy to a speech? You talked about pacing and vocal variation. Can you discuss? Well, I will discuss it, but I hope to demonstrate it by what I did right there. Did you notice how I read that? I didn't just say, you talked about pacing and vocal variation. Can you discuss? That is monotone, same speed, same volume, same tone, no pauses. That's the easiest way to read. But instead, listen to what I'm doing with my voice. You talked about pacing and vocal variation. Pause. Can you discuss? You hear how the change of my tones. Now, I'm not acting. That's how people normally speak. What I'm doing that's different from someone who hasn't hosted thousands of hours of shows is I'm relaxed enough that I can look at something and just talk the way I would normally talk. Most of us, if we're talking to our best friend about the most exciting football or soccer or basketball match we ever saw last night, we don't have to worry about, do we have energy in our voice? Is there pacing? It naturally comes out. The problem for so many people when they're giving a speech is they're telling themselves, I have all this data and all these bullet points, and I'm trying to memorize stuff, and they freeze themselves up and they tense themselves. And it drains all the energy away. That's a big problem. Part of it is just variation. Rewind the tape what I just said 10 seconds ago. I know we can't do it easily, but you should see what I did. I used contrast. People put in too much information, and that's a problem. My voice went up in tone. It went a little louder, and then I whispered. I paused, and I whispered. Everybody does this all day long when they're talking to friends, family, having a conversation, and they're relaxed. But if you're trying to memorize an important speech, then it all goes away, and you become too consistent and too flat and too boring. And that's what makes someone seem low energy. We've all seen people get up and give a speech. Good morning. My name is such and such. I'm happy to be here today. Before I begin, let me tell you this amusing anecdote that my staff wrote. And I'm happy to be here. You hear how low energy that is. It's awful. And that's what a lot of people do. Now, I'm not suggesting you're doing anything that bad. But forgive me, because some of you are going to correctly note that I repeat myself sometimes. But it really is the problem to so many things. If you feel that your speech doesn't have enough energy, you're probably right. It probably doesn't have enough energy. The only way to know is you need to rehearse on camera. You don't have to be in a big, nice studio with a fancy camera on the wall like I have. Just use your cell phone. Rehearse your speech. Listen to it. If you sound low energy and boring, guess what? You are. Keep redoing it, doing it a second time. Anytime you do a speech the second time, it's usually easier than the first time. You're not having to think about the words as much. They can become more a part of who you are. You get to the point where you're just sharing an experience. If you ever get together with a bunch of friends from high school and you're reliving some embarrassing, awkward situation, your voice naturally comes up. I know when I get together with some friends from college, we talk about this time. We were in Jacksonville, Florida, and I was canoeing, and I was telling my friends that, hey, don't worry, canoes don't tip over and sink. You can write them in the water and you can canoe in. And it's actually very hard to tip a canoe. People think it's easy, but it's hard. So my other friend stands up and says, really, you mean I can do this? And he's standing up, doing this in the canoe, and the canoe not only easily flips over, it sinks to the bottom of the river. We're scrambling around everywhere. Wallets are falling around. Hats are floating away. I was correct that canoes are hard to tip over, except if they're made from fiberglass. Fiberglass ones tip and they sink. Aluminum ones don't tip and they don't sink. Oops, my mistake. So that's a story. That's the first time I thought of it until just now. But it's almost impossible for me to tell that story without having my voice go up and down and fast and slow and pausing, because I'm reliving an experience. That is the easiest way to bring your voice alive, is to tell stories that are relevant to your audience. The biggest reason so many people have low energy in their speech and they sound boring in their speech is because what they're saying is boring and uninteresting. So the problem isn't necessarily your tone, it's the fact that you're trying to dress up something that's really boring. So part of this goes back to judgment. You have to get in the habit of using your judgment, of really narrowing down the messages you're trying to convey in any one speech. And then use your remaining time to make it more interesting and memorable by telling stories, examples, case studies, analogies, things that make it come alive to them, but also make it a lot easier for you to talk about and to remember. That'll be easier for everyone. But thanks so much for the question. We are getting close to not just the end of the hour, not just the end of the show, but the end of the entire week. I am looking forward to being with you next week, although next week is likely to be a truncated schedule. I am going to be taking some vacation next week, but I will be here with you Monday. And we'll have a full show, as always. Regardless of whether we have the live show, there is always new content every single day. New long-form videos, short videos every single day. And soon, very soon, I'll be relaunching a daily blog on habits. So that's going to be coming up. We've got some exciting news coming there in probably the next 2 or 3 weeks. So if you're someone like me and you like to read, I still want you to come attend the show. I still want you to watch the videos. But if you like to read, I'm going to be giving you more written content as well. So what makes you happier? It makes me happy knowing you're here and we're having a conversation about habits. But you ask a lot of people on the street, and they'll say, oh, if I had $1 million, if I had $100 million. And a lot of people think that money is the answer to happiness. And if you have no money, then having some money will make you happier. There's no doubt about it. But more money after a certain point typically doesn't make people happier. Sometimes it makes them worse. Well, there's a new study out by some researchers at Yale University and Oxford, together a joint study, and then what they found is that there is something that makes people happier than merely money. And what these researchers found, the magic answer, exercise. They did a very large survey, 1.2 million Americans in this research from the two major universities. And what they found is that people who exercise are markedly happier than people who don't, even when they have less income. Now, that's the surprising thing. The study was published last year in a medical journal known as Lancet, and it shows that people who reported having 35 days of poor mental health a year were less active. Those who were sedentary reported an average of 18 down days. And here's the interesting thing. On average, a sedentary person would have to earn an additional $25,000 to be as happy as a person who exercises. So if you're feeling a little down, maybe you don't just need a pay raise. And hey, we could all stand for a pay raise, but you can't necessarily guarantee yourself a pay raise tomorrow. You can guarantee a little more exercise. You absolutely can. So if you want to read more about this research study, again, a huge study, 1.2 million people, I've linked to it in the show notes, and that does segue perfectly to the next news item I wanted to share with you before the end of our week. This is courtesy of our friends at Thrive Global, and it's a story about how small bursts of movement can really get you through the day and help you be more energized and feel better. I wanted to share with you the techniques by these authors and also what I do myself. Here's one suggestion they have. Jump for 60 seconds before a meeting. This is courtesy of Paige Lewis, who is a personal development coach in California. If I'm in a mental or emotional slump and need to be on for a meeting, I rely on one of the simplest physical actions. I jump up and down for 60 seconds. The trick is to give yourself positive affirmations while you're jumping. I tell myself I'm going to succeed in the meeting and that I am prepared. Connecting a physical change in my state with a positive mental focus shifts my mood and leaves me ready for action. So that's a great tip. Here's another one. Stretch while you're on a call. I make a point of stretching at least once an hour. If I'm working from home, I set a reminder on my phone to stand up and stretch, do a few arm circles, I guess like this. Here's another tip. Take a break for a solo dance party. Here's one from Clearwater, Florida, from Rachel Stone. This is one I do every day. Do 10 jumping jacks to reorganize yourself or to re-energize yourself. I don't like jumping up and down, but for some reason I do like jumping jacks. I've only recently started getting back into them. I do 20 each day. It only takes 20 seconds. But I feel full of energy, and it's one thing to say I don't have an hour and a half to drive down to a gym. You can come up with a lot of good excuses to not do that. But it's pretty hard to come up with an excuse as to why you can't spend 20 seconds during the day. Shake out your stress is another tip. You just go and I guess just shaking like this will get things around. Another tip, walk around the office. Here's one, do lunges between meetings. Squats while you brew coffee. So a lot of different tips. I'll tell you what I like to do personally, because I am someone who I don't like to put on my calendar 35, 40, 60 minutes in the gym. I like breaking up little bursts throughout the day. So I do jumping jacks first thing in the morning, just 20. I'll do sprints on the treadmill, but only for 60 seconds. I put it on full blast, 10 miles an hour, and I run at full blast, but only for 60 seconds. So by the time I've turned the machine on, it's basically time to quit. So it gives me a short burst of energy, and I'm done quickly. I can do it. I may do one as soon as the show's over, because I have to walk right by the gym to do it. That's something I do. It's quick, it's easy, it's simple. I also like to do just 30 seconds of stretches. You saw this in my selfie media program that I showed you earlier. Bending down, stretches. Something else I like to do in just 1 minute, pull-ups. Now I'm only up to doing 7 at a time, but wow, you feel like Superman after doing 7 pull-ups, especially when you realize most people can't do them at all. So everyone's different. You may love going to a set gym and doing all your exercise in a 2-hour block. I like doing little 60 seconds here, 20 seconds here, because it feels like I'm sort of getting away with something. I don't have to motivate myself to go to the gym, because I'm just doing a little bit here and there. I kind of reason that if I can do something in less time than it takes to brush my teeth at night, I don't really have a good excuse not to do it. And since brushing my teeth takes a couple of minutes, and using the water pick takes another couple of minutes, and flossing, there's so many things in life I can do that take less than what I do for my teeth. So why not do it? That's what works for me. So that's why you saw that in my own programming. You've got to come up with something that works for you, that fills you with energy to get through your day. And this relates to the question from some of our community members earlier today. I discipline myself and motivate myself in part by making it so easy, so simple. It doesn't require any discipline or motivation. It's just, okay, time to do 20 jumping jacks. Let's just do it. There's a time for everything if it's important, and you can do it easily. Something that's not so easy right now, saying goodbye to you. I've had so much fun this week with you, today's show, and this hour. I really want to thank you, and so many of you, for giving me your time, your energy, your consideration, your feedback. I appreciate you liking my Facebook page and subscribing to the YouTube channel, giving me and Marceau specific feedback, what you like, what you don't like with what we're trying to do here, and contributing with your ideas and well wishes. Thank you so much. May all of your habits this weekend drive you to happiness. I'm TJ Walker. See you Monday.